Now, with that information, some investors are looking for interesting breakthroughs. You still have two different divergent, sometimes some folks would say bipolar approaches to investing in this energy storage area. And you have folks that have very low risk appetite, so they're looking for incremental improvements, but that's old school. And then you have the investors that are looking for substantive improvements, but for that you need to take a different approach. So instead of looking at the pro forma financials first when you're looking at a transaction, you have to break it down, a bottom-up physical reality approach. Look at the thermodynamics. Is this possible? Do the laws of physics allow for this? And that requires a very sophisticated investor. And these are folks that are looking for a high return because they understand that the political and market forces are going to drive such a solution. And curiously, often within a fund, you'll have two buckets of money, both going towards an incremental and one going towards a disruptive solution. So, my favorite bipolar people. Another thing that investors are looking at is what is the federal guidance? What's the DOE? What's NREL? What are they saying is going to happen? And there's been a real change with the appointment of Steve Chu at the Department of Energy, which used to be essentially the Department of Nuclear Weapons Management, and now is actually becoming a department that looks at energy issues in the U.S. in a real sense. And then you also have Steve Koonin, who used to be a chief scientist, I think, or chief technical officer at British Petroleum. So that's, those two gentlemen are driving real change at the DOE, and that's just the top of that department. But this is a recent report. It was authored in January of this year. And I highly recommend it. There's a link. If anybody wants this information, I'm happy to send it to you. It's a 61-page report on this very topic. And I can't say I agree with all the conclusions, but it's a good primer. And it's good to see the DOE looking at this. So after all this, what do we think is happening with energy storage? When you have market pain, increasing market pain, and cost-competitive solutions, then you get a change. There was such a change over 100 years ago in IT, where you had the Pony Express, and then a few years later you had telegraph poles everywhere. So that's what's a major disruptive change. If you were to have a duel between some of the great minds in entrepreneurship and innovation, meaning Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla versus Alexander Graham Bell and Elijah Gray, those two are the folks that came up with the phone. If you're going to get Bell and Gray and have them look at the innovation in IT compared to Edison and Tesla, looking at the power grid, it's a very different story. If you were to have Alexander Graham Bell and Elijah Gray look at the phones, they could not recognize them. Throw them your BlackBerry, and they would not be able to recognize the network topology, the network structure, any of the hardware. Maybe the only thing they could recognize would be the numbers that you can press. Not even that, because they used to be, circular wind-up. So it would be completely foreign to them. Now, if you took Thomas Edison and Tesla, you had them look at our grid, even after 100 years, most of it would be quite recognizable to them. So we've been living with a very big legacy technology, legacy structure issue, which is becoming increasingly cost competitive for our country. It challenges our economic competitiveness, and it's going to have to change. But of course, that will require storage. So in conclusion, the time for small incremental changes is coming to an end. And the end game, the big solution, and some of this we discussed yesterday, Antonio, is you have to farm renewables. That's the end game. Meaning, when the power is going into the grid, it's not destabilizing it, because you're making a complicated network balance issue much worse. So you have to firm it at the source. And this is required because of reliability constraints of the grid. It has to be up all the time. You can't have brownouts. You can't have blackouts. You need to firm the offenders at the gate. And then electric power consumers, they need reliable power. So the market is going to drive it. And then eventually, you also have national security, economic, and strategic interests that require us to stop using oil, electrify our transportation, and stop emitting so many greenhouse gases before we run out of time. So, thank you. And